And I was exactly the same. You want to do everything at once. You hear about supersets, you think, yes, that's going to build me the most muscle the fastest, and it's not actually. First, let's define what a superset is so we're all 100% clear on that. Then I'm going to talk about which body parts are best to do supersets with, and then don't forget to stay right until the end of the video, because there is one circumstance where I do not recommend supersets, and if you're performing supersets at the wrong time, it can actually slow down muscle growth. So what actually are supersets? How do you do a superset? So normally with a regular set, let's say we take a set of bench press, you'll start performing that exercise, and when you get to the end of that exercise, your last repetition, you then rack the weight and you set your timer, maybe it's 60 seconds, it might be 90 seconds, and you take your full rest period. Once your rest period is over, then you start again and do another 10 sets of the bench press and rest again, and keep repeating for how many sets you have in your program. So when utilizing the superset, things are a little different. So after that first set, when you put the weight down, we do not rest, we go immediately into your next exercise. Now that might be another chest exercise, so let's say you finish the bench press, you might go immediately into chest dips. Supersets can also be opposing muscle groups, they don't have to be the same muscle group. So for instance, the opposing muscle group for the chest would be the back. So you would do your bench press followed immediately by, let's say, pull-ups, and that would be your superset. The reason that supersets work is because you are putting extra stress on that muscle. Extra stress that that particular muscle is not used to handling. You are overloading that muscle, and that's going to cause a response, and in this case the response happens to be more muscle growth. The type of supersets that I recommend are opposing muscle groups like we just explained, and smaller muscle groups. I don't personally like supersetting big muscle groups like chest, back, legs, muscle groups like that. Personally for me, I don't think it's a good idea, but of course there is a time and a place for everything where you might superset bigger muscle groups. Maybe you're really busy one day, maybe you get cut short, or maybe you're an advanced lifter and you just want to change things up and do something different. The reason I don't like supersetting big muscle groups such as chest and back, for instance, is because you want to get stronger on those compound lifts. You want to be increasing the weight on those compound lifts. And if you are supersetting, so you're not taking any rest in between sets, there's no way you're going to be able to keep lifting heavier because the intensity is simply just too high. And that's one of the reasons I do like supersetting smaller muscle groups. For instance, the biceps and triceps, when we're trying to build bigger arms, most of the time we are not trying to get stronger on exercises such as a dumbbell bicep curl. It's just there as an accessory movement to add some extra growth to the biceps. So I'll do something like a dumbbell skull crusher for the triceps, and then to go immediately into dumbbell hammer curls for biceps. I almost always superset arms, and I think it's a great way to up the intensity at the end of my workout, so I'll usually train arms last. Another thing that I absolutely love about the supersets for arms is you get an incredible pump. If you don't know what the pump is, that's basically just when you're lifting weights and the blood, minerals, water is being pumped into that muscle, and the muscle will swell temporarily. The reason I love that is not only do your arms feel massive when you're in the gym doing a superset, but also that extra pump, that extra blood and everything that's been pushed into the muscle will cause more muscle growth. The reason is because getting a pump is stretching the fascia tissue, which is allowing for more muscle growth. As I promised at the start of the video, the one scenario where you should not do supersets is if you're a beginner. Now a lot of beginners, and I was exactly the same, you want to do everything at once. You hear about supersets, you think, yes, that's going to build me the most muscle the fastest, and it's not actually true. You will see much more progress if you just focus on training in the most basic way. Focus on your compound lifts, focus on the bench press, squats, pull-ups, all the basic compound movements. You should be focusing on those movements and getting better at those in your first sort of 6 months, because if you start doing things like drop sets and supersets and giant sets, and I'm going to do rest pause training, you're confusing the body so much when you start. The best thing to do is to get the most out of each step. So get the most you can out of just keeping things simple, and then after 6 months, after a year, then add things like, okay, I'm going to add supersets. That's going to cause a response. Maybe you do supersets for a few weeks and you think, I want to add drop sets in there. These little changes then will cause a response. But if you do everything at once, you're missing out on a lot of progress. You need to squeeze as much out of every little part of your training when you're a beginner as you can. To give a quick example, it's almost like trying to learn guitar, let's say, and your guitar teacher tries to teach you how to play Jimi Hendrix Killing Floor. when you've only been learning to play for 2 months. It's not possible. You'll just simply give in. You're not getting the most out of that instrument, out of your playing ability, because you simply won't be able to do that. The video I want you to watch next is linked on screen. It's a video that I did titled How to Build 10 Pounds of Muscle in 1 year. This is an amazing goal to have if it's your first year of training, or maybe it's your second year of training and you want to learn how to put 10 pounds of muscle on. That video will teach you how to do that.